Hey there, everybody. Meteorologist Will Haney here. It is Saturday evening, around dinner time, and we're going to hop on here and do some storm tracking for you, kind of give a little update on our storm scenario that's playing out across our area. Nothing severe at the moment in our neck of the woods, but there is a lot of really heavy rain. Just was speaking with Keith, who is driving through Kalamazoo. Some of the usual trouble spots are already seeing some flooding from some of this rain. We're talking like the Howard Hill area over towards Crosstown Parkway. So yeah, not surprising given how quickly some of this rain is coming down. I'm going to make our radar a little bit bigger for you, and not like that. We're going to do it this way, just so you can kind of see what's going on. But yeah, a lot of thunder, lightning, but nothing severe at this time. Those white boxes that you see creeping into St. Joseph and Branch counties, so down towards US 12, Sturgis, those are special weather statements. So sometimes I kind of call those like severe thunderstorms light. They're kind of like the precursor to a severe thunderstorm. But if I click on some of those, I can get a little info. They're likely for gusts upwards of like 40 to 50 miles an hour, if I had to guess. So yeah, that one is a special weather statement that includes kind of the Sturgis area that goes through 645. That is for gusts up to 40 miles per hour. So just something to be mindful of. And then likely the same scenario for this one just south of Coldwater. That one goes through 7 p.m. That is also for wind gusts up to 40 miles an hour too. And before we keep going, I want to introduce a special guest on our live stream. Scoot on in here, Skyly. We're going to try and do this. We're in this tiny little box right there. You appeared. Skyly, tell people why you're here, Skyly.
I would like to become a meteorologist.
Awesome. Yeah. So Skyly, you're at Kellogg Community College.
Yep.
Okay. So getting your associates, she's interested in possibly transitioning to Mississippi State's program, which is they offer some online learning. So anyway, Skyly, I'm really glad you're here. Skyly's just never been to a TV station before. Nope. What are your thoughts so far?
I love it. I think it's pretty crazy. I think it's pretty cool. I'm learning a lot.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, Skyly's been here since this afternoon, which I told her she kind of came on a good day. Unfortunately, we don't have a 6 p.m. newscast. Normally, we'd be wrapping that up on our secondary station. But unfortunately, today, due to some football, we don't have it. So I figured I would jump on here. But yeah, Skyly came on a good day. So thanks for coming. She's going to be kind of watching over my shoulder. And we worked on the forecast and put that all together. So I said you came on a good day today because there's a lot of action in the weather department. But anyway, so yeah, a lot of thunder, a lot of lightning, and a lot of heavy rain ongoing right now. What we're watching for is a very limited window, though, from about now through, I would say in about an hour, we should be given the all clear as far as any severe weather. Right now, though, these storms are all sub-severe, but possibly some 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts. What we're going to watch for, though, is any storms that exhibit any sort of rotation. So we're talking about rotating updrafts. There is still a little bit of shear in the atmosphere for these storms to play off of. So that's going to help generate that rotational component to any thunderstorms. So when I switch this over to velocity, for example, this is wind speed. What we look for here, brighter greens, brighter reds, especially any that are close together. Now, just because you see that little area of red and green right now, kind of between Kalamazoo and Battle Creek, that is not necessarily a velocity signature of like a rotating thunderstorm. That's more of almost like wind surging out from some of that heavy rain. I think that's what's going on right now along M96 between Battle Creek and Kalamazoo. Did you drive on that to get here? You might have.
Yeah.
You did? Okay. Well, that's getting some heavy rain right now. Some gusty winds, but nothing jumping off the charts at the moment. And just doing like a quick scan of the radar. I think it's a similar story right now in Hastings. That's more just like downpour wind. I don't see anything too classic here that's overly concerning from any sort of a rotation or certainly a tornado threat. Maybe a little bit of a rotation component there, a little on the east side of Battle Creek, or on the west side, excuse me, like out towards Springfield, but that looks very messy on radar. So again, today when we were starting off the day, I mentioned this starting last night that we had a very low end threat of maybe 1 or 2 severe storms. This is really it. You know, this big cluster of storms may pose a limited threat of some gusty winds. That storm is looking healthier right now in St. Joseph County. That would maybe be R1, so we'll see. That one had that special weather statement that looks like they canceled. They didn't cancel it. I just clicked off of it. But that is starting to look a little bit healthier. So let us know where you're watching from if you have any questions. Really quickly, this is this was our severe weather outlook for today, which I'll show really quickly. I'm also going to open up our chat with the National Weather Service. Yeah, if there was one storm that's kind of getting there, it would be just south of Colon right now. We'll touch on that again in just a second. But anyways, so the severe weather outlook for today did include kind of the southeastern corner of our viewing area, which is essentially right where we're talking right now, for a very low risk of some gusty winds and also possibly an isolated short-lived spin-up tornado. This is not necessarily a classic tornado day by any means, but it is a day in the sense that we could see maybe, like I just said, maybe a quick little spin-up tornado in one of these thunderstorms definitely wouldn't be off the table. So that's just something we're watching very closely for, again, for the next hour or so these storms are going through. I'm going to switch this back to radar because there's definitely one storm that's starting to catch my attention on radar a little bit more than the others, which is just south of Coldwater in St. Joseph County. Nothing from a tornado standpoint right now, but just from a wind standpoint, possibly even some small hail. This would be pushing into the Colon area. We're talking just north, like between Burr Oak and Colon. Let me get my bearings here on this small little laptop down here. Again, also Skyly has the coolest name for a meteorologist. I said, I'm jealous. She has a weather name, Skyly. It's such a good meteorology name. But yeah, that leading edge right now in St. Joseph County, about to cross into Branch County, possibly some 40 to 50 mile an hour gusts, maybe even some very small, like pea-size hail just south of Colon. And if I switch this over, I'm just going to scan this really quickly for any sort of rotation along that leading edge, possibly a little, but nothing super strong. That's probably, yeah. So it's starting to brighten up there a little bit. So if you see those brighter reds just south of Colon, let me get my bearings a little bit. So that is Burr Oak Road, south of Colon. Fancy that, goes to Burr Oak. Who would have thought? Let me get a little sample of that, and we're going to see. So 51 miles an hour. Yeah, this could get warned. I wouldn't be shocked. National Weather Service in northern Indiana, a little bit more conservative traditionally in some of their warnings, but we'll see. I would see if we start seeing that go up even more, we could definitely see maybe a severe thunderstorm warning. This is not a tornado warning if we're going to see one right now to me, but we might see a severe thunderstorm. So we'll keep an eye on that. That is south of Colon. Those brighter reds that you see kind of moving in there on the map within the last 10 minutes or so. I'll freeze frame that. So some decent wind. That could bring down maybe some tree limbs and stuff like that. Nothing major. When we start talking about 60 plus mile an hour winds, we get a little bit more worried. And you can see that's definitely kind of the brightest coloration that we see, which the brighter colors indicating the strongest winds. So let's zoom out for just a second. And let me see if folks are chiming in. Good evening, Shannon. Hey, Sheila, Tammy, cats and dogs. That's the rainfall report from Keith and Melissa. We appreciate that. Yeah, lots of very heavy rain. And you know what's crazy, y'all, is this is just kind of like the appetizer to tonight. It's going to also rain all night long, starting probably after about 9-10 o'clock. We're going to get just steady soaking rain all night through early tomorrow morning. This is the initial push of some thunderstorms out ahead of that rain, which we'll touch on a little later. But yeah, right now, those storms are definitely not super organized, which is a good sign. Skyly and I were talking about this. I was kind of explaining that to Skyly. So storms, the analogy we used, because we're both parents, they're like toddlers. They don't like to share. So if a storm is all by itself, it's able to kind of reap the benefits of its environment a little bit more. It's like a kid in the daycare that just gets to play with whatever toys it wants to. Now you introduce a few more storms or a few more toddlers in that room. They're all kind of stealing from each other, right? They're not playing nicely. Those storms, when they're out together, a lot of times when they start to cluster together, it's not always the case, but a lot of times those storms start to kind of choke off each other's ingredients, if you will. And so the fact that these are just a big blob, sometimes I refer to on radar, is a good sign. That being said, sometimes within those big blobs, you can see still some localized downburst winds or really strong wind kind of in a heavier pocket of rain, which is I think what we would be seeing right now exiting the Sturgis area up towards Colon, Madison, for example. You might have some gusty winds of 40 to 50 blow through here shortly. Still maybe some 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts down towards Bronson, southern Branch County too, but nothing as far as a tornado threat right now, which is, again, just something we're on guard for because there is a little bit of shear in the environment. The storms right now through Kalamazoo, still raining, but the heaviest of the rain is pushing out of here. It's now into Berry County up towards, say, the Delton Kellogg area, for example. You're getting some really heavy rain. Battle Creek, you're about to see that really heavy rain as well. And it's going to continue to push off to the northeast. So between about now and I would say 7:30, 8 o'clock, we're looking at this round of heavy rain, some storms, and then we might see a little bit of a break for maybe just a couple hours, and then the steady heavy rain that works its way in overnight tonight. That storm down south in St. Joseph County is definitely the strongest right now. That's indicated by a few things. The darker reds, obviously, indicating the heaviest rain, possibly some small hail, but then also the little lightning jump that we're seeing. So when you see that lightning kind of start to become a little bit more frequent, that's often a sign of storm strengthening, not weakening. So if the lightning starts kind of jumping off the map a little, or not off the map, but if it starts to lighten up the map a little bit, that means that storm is oftentimes strengthening. So that's something we'll be watching. And that would be right down towards the Colon area, right along M86, out towards Coldwater, probably some strong rain, strong wind, and heavy rain going to blow through here shortly. But I will keep an eye on that closely. Doesn't look overly impressive there on velocity. Still just a very small pocket, if anything, crossing into Branch County as we speak. I'm going to switch this to a different velocity, just a different wind speed and direction. And a little bit of maybe some very weak rotation there over M86 between Colon and Madison. Nothing that right now would warrant like a tornado warning or anything like that, but we'll just keep an eye on that just in case. And just the fact that that's kind of in an area of some decent storminess right now. We'll keep an eye on it. But yeah, nothing. This is definitely not like a textbook day where it's like, oh man, that's a storm that looks like it's wanting to do something not nice. All right. So yeah, a lot of heavy rain up in Berry County, Eaton County. You're going to get a lot of that rain as well. Looks like the Battle Creek area, you're in line. Behind this, there's still some rain and some storms, but once this kind of leading edge goes through, so what I mean by that is once you see kind of this initial wave of some heavy rain and some storms, your severe weather threat is essentially over. It's really, I would say the severe weather threat has ended essentially for Kalamazoo. I'm pretty confident in that. I think for Battle Creek, for Calhoun County, it's getting there. I think we're primarily watching St. Joseph and Branch counties down here if we're going to be talking severe weather. I don't really expect much farther north as these continue. It's primarily St. Joseph and Branch counties with this leading edge. I really hope, best case scenario, we don't see a single warning today. You know, I'm never cheering for storms. I certainly don't want a tornado warning. But it's just one of those days we were kind of I was explaining this to Skyly from a meteorology perspective. Skyly, again, Skyly is off camera to the right. She is stage right. Skyly's doing a little shadow today. She's interested in meteorology in case you're joining us now. But anyways, these days we kind of dread as meteorologists because they're days where, like, more than likely we don't really see much as far as severe storms, but it's just borderline enough where we kind of have to be on guard for anything that wants to get a little strong. Really quickly, let's highlight just the rain, because I think the rain component of this through tonight is definitely a big talker given how dry we've been. I think we're looking at a widespread 1.5 to 2 inches still. That area of purple, primarily I-96 south, it's looking like a really healthy soaking. This is not only the storms that we're seeing now, but then a steady and heavy rain that's going to develop late tonight into the overnight hours and through the probably around maybe 7, 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. And then we'll see additional rain during the daytime tomorrow. There is going to be, I think, some areas that see 2 to 3 inches. I don't know if it'll be quite as widespread as this indicates, but I think the potential is definitely there. Some locations could even surpass the 3-inch mark, which is essentially like a month's worth of rain in a 24, 48-hour period. We average, I think, like 3.7 inches in October. I'm not positive on that exact number, but it's somewhere upwards of like 3.5 to 3.7. October is actually traditionally one of our wetter months. It's kind of that transition season where we start to get these bigger, more impressive systems that come through, which is certainly kind of like what we're seeing right now. So yeah, 2 to 3 inches of rain, of very healthy soaking for the lawn and garden overnight tonight, kind of on the tail end of fall. It's pouring in Richland. Thanks for that report, Vicky. Batavia between 86 and 12. I can hear the thunder is starting to rain. Thanks, Marissa. I know 4.5 minutes left in the MSU game. I wonder who's winning. I haven't been paying attention to the MSU game. Here, really quick. MSU, is it close? I wonder. They're playing Indiana. It is not close. Okay. 35-10, which is kind of what I expected. Not to hate on MSU, but I think we all kind of did. Indiana's a good team this year. Michigan won, though. So for all the fans out there, anyways, that sounded like it was a dig at MSU even more. But Michigan won. All right. I like both, for the record. But I'm pretty basic. I like Michigan football, MSU basketball. But that's a cop-out, a lot of people would say. All right. I digress. So heavy rain right now and into the overnight. The other thing I wanted to mention is I've been touching on this. The waves tomorrow. If you like going to the beach, I think like South Beach, North Beach, just parking on a weekend, bring a Jimmy John sub, bring something, snack in the car, enjoy the show. It's going to be a good day for that. At the lakeshore, at least, I think we'll be dealing with some gusts 40 to 50 miles an hour. It's our first real gales of the season. Yes, sir.
I gotta go grab some lunch.
Yes, I think so. I think let's just leave the chroma hot if you can. Okay, thank you. All right. Yeah, Director Jesse there off camera just checking in. Jesse's in charge of making sure everything goes out of the air smoothly. He's just checking in on the severe weather scenario right now. And I told him he's good as long as we have a way to go on air if we need to. See that right there, that little green and red?
Mm-hmm.
That's something. That's that very weak rotation I was talking about, possibly, towards Madison. So let's jump in really quick again. All right. 38-10, 2 minutes left. Thanks for the report, Marissa. You could be our sideline sports reporter, Marissa. All right. Pouring in Springfield. Yeah, let's jump back into that. But anyways, big waves tomorrow on Lake Michigan if you're into that sort of thing. So 10 to 14 footers, that might be even conservative. All right, so live Doppler right now, still stormy across Berry County, Calhoun County, Kalamazoo. There's still some heavier rain that's going to push through southern Kalamazoo County down towards Schoolcraft, probably Vicksburg, Pavilion, Township. But I'm not worried for a severe weather threat. You can already see that here's what I'm talking about, y'all. So this area of rain is going to be some heavy rain pushing into Schoolcraft, but there's not a lot of lightning down towards Marcellus, for example. This is still an area of interest for me, is this leading edge that's pushing up towards Athens. Nothing necessarily overly concerning, but definitely maybe some 40 to 50 mile an hour gusts with that. There's also some very weak and broad rotation, which I'll show you now. Matches up a little bit. That would be near M60. Still a little west of Girard. But again, it's weak. That's not going to trigger a tornado warning or anything just yet. But if we start to see that strengthen for some reason, then we'll be watching it closely. So that's near Union City, just south of Union City. And again, if you missed us on air, we did not have a 6 p.m. on the Arc West Michigan. So unfortunately, we had football on. Unfortunately, we just didn't have a show. So that was the other motivation in hopping on here. So we'll go through the forecast here in just a moment. But again, the heaviest and the strongest storm right now is over Branch County. But the fact that that is a big blob is, again, good. It is very disorganized. The areas of interest that we watch primarily are kind of the leading edge, because that's where sometimes your strongest kind of gusty winds surge out ahead of that storm. I will say these storms are also moving pretty quick, because we were talking about, Skyly, like when you were going to be kind of in the clear to head home. And that was about maybe 30 minutes ago. And that leading edge was not in Kalamazoo. It was just starting to push through. And it's already like well out in Battle Creek. So you might have some rain on your drive home, but it's not going to be the really heavy rain, which is good. Skyly's making Battle Creek proud on the live stream. All right. So yeah, down in Branch County, a lot of dark reds. That's some really heavy rain, but nothing that is overly concerning at this time. So that's good news. And nothing jumping off the page there. So again, let me see. Let's check a couple things. I'm going to go through the forecast just for a moment, and then we'll circle back to radar, and especially if we see anything that starts looking concerning. So what's ahead? Overnight tonight, we're going to see some soaking rain. Right now, we're obviously seeing some rain and storms. We'll see a brief break, probably around 8 to 9 or 10 or so. And then there's going to be a really widespread area of rain that lifts in overnight. And that's the widespread soaking, likely over an inch of rain just overnight for pretty much our entire area. Sunday, we're going to be contending with more rain. There could be a little bit of a break in the rain, like mid-morning into the early afternoon. We're talking a few hours before more showers move in. They won't quite be as heavy, but we're going to see a steady rain for much of the afternoon. The other story on Sunday is the crashing temperatures, which we'll touch on here in just a moment. Let me pull this up for you because I think this will tell the story pretty well. This is like a little hourly snapshot of Sunday. So again, green lighting up the map, the heaviest rain kind of lifting north early. We might see a very brief break before more rain into the afternoon and evening. It won't be necessarily a severe weather threat by any means, but look at those temperatures. So they're kind of flip-flop from what they usually do. Usually we see our high temperature in the afternoon, right, during peak afternoon heating. Tomorrow, the high temperature is going to happen the start of the day. In fact, tomorrow's high temperature will probably be a little after midnight tonight because temperatures are going to crash throughout the day. So, man, it's going to be really chilly by the end of the day tomorrow. Very windy, very wet, very wet. So we were touching on this. If you're a scary movie fan in the month of October, spooky season, as they say, it's a good movie day. Enjoy. Or a good football day. Although the Lions play Monday night. So get ready to beat the Buccaneers. All right. So a lot of rain on the way the next 24 hours. And then Monday is looking pretty good. I'll jump really quick to show the 7-day just in case you're trying to hop on here for a quick little forecast update. Raining in Hudsonville. Appreciate that, Tina. Go Lions. Lions, says Kendra. Enough said. Lions. Detroit versus everybody, as they say. Marissa. Dark red over my house in Batavia. I assume you're talking about the radar and hopefully not the sky. That'd be kind of scary if the sky was dark red. But maybe it is because it's we're getting close to sunset. So that would actually make sense. There's a lot of moisture in the atmosphere, and that's where you get those really vibrant red sunsets. So you might be talking about that too. But yeah, tomorrow, 59 is a little misleading. Like I said, it's a falling high. So by the afternoon, we're in the low 50s. 61 on Monday, we rebound a little bit, and then we chill off yet again with more showers possible. I think Wednesday is looking the wettest day this week, and then some showers possibly lingering into Thursday now as well, with some 50s in the forecast. Those 50s not really far off from typical for this time of year. Our average high right around 60, so just slightly below that. We've just been kind of warm, it seems like, in the last few days. Let's jump back to radar just to give everyone an update because that is the main thing we're here for. Still a lot of heavy rain and lightning out there, but still nothing severe to report, so that is great news. I'm going to check really quick the chat with the National Weather Service just to see if they've put out anything, any reports of minor damage or anything like that. I don't expect that. Oh, man. Okay, so they were monitoring the line that went through Sturgis producing 60-mile-an-hour winds, allegedly. So, wow. So the ASOS, the observation station in Sturgis, did report a 61-mile-per-hour gust. So that could have arguably had a severe thunderstorm warning on it briefly. It did not. It has special weather statements, those white boxes that you see there, but just the fact that we did have a gust of 61 miles an hour, that's pretty healthy. So we'll have to see. I'll check the consumer's map in just a second. That's what that little blue dot is, though, on this map. That's at the airport in Sturgis, and that is a 61-mile-per-hour gust that was observed at 6:27. That was that exact area of a little bit brighter colors that we were tracking that worked its way through Sturgis up towards the Colon area and eventually is now pushing through kind of southern Calhoun County. So National Weather Service saying they were monitoring it. I don't think it's quite as strong as it was. No reports of damage right now, so that's good, but I wouldn't be shocked if there was some leaves and maybe even some smaller trees down in and around Sturgis. So that's something we'll have to check on. I also wouldn't be shocked if maybe there was even an outage or two down there. So I'll check on that here in just a second. I broke the computer. Pause. Black box. I broke it. Oh, okay. Marissa, she was talking about the radar, not the sky. Thanks for the clarification, Marissa. All right. So again, a severe thunderstorm is any storm capable of 58 mile per hour wind gusts or stronger. So just think right around 60 miles an hour. So the fact that we did have a 61 mile per hour gust reported in Sturgis, as that storm was moving through. I'll play this back. Ready? So let me see if I can do this. So this was 6:11. Why is this not working? There we go. We're dragging this from just a little bit ago. It was right there. That storm was really healthy as it lifted through Sturgis. Very dark red. It had that little lightning spike we were talking about, blew through Colon. And now it's definitely it's not as strong. Still has that leading edge, but it's definitely not as strong. In fact, I'm feeling pretty good. Look, just a quick glance at radar. I think hopefully things are kind of as far as our severe weather ingredients. We'll have to watch these as they push off to the east for like Hillsdale, Jackson County, but that's not really our viewing area. Not that I don't care about you if you're in those areas. I do, but it's just not our viewing area. So we're not necessarily going to stay on. But some heavy rain right now, but nothing jumping off the page. But that's pretty crazy that there was a 61-mile-an-hour gust in Sturgis. Rocky, hello. And thanks for the report. I've been here. I've been around, Rocky. You just haven't been maybe catching me at my work time. We work weird schedules. Marissa, pouring again in Bloomingdale. I believe that. All right. Yeah, there's still some heavy rain on the backside of this. But again, what we were talking about earlier is once this first wave of storms goes through, it's usually kind of the end of your severe weather. The storm down south of St. Joseph County, near Shipshewana, Amish capital of Indiana, if you've never been, is looking a little stronger. But let me just check this. Meteorologically speaking, it shouldn't do anything too concerning because it's moving into an environment that already had the storms kind of roll through. So I'm not too worried about that. But we'll watch it. Let me freeze frame this. So again, if you are in St. Joseph County, Nottawa-Mendon area, you're seeing some really heavy rain, but nothing severe. Some really heavy rain in Bronson right now, over in Coldwater along I-69. There's some really heavy rain right now. Quincy, you're about to see that heavy rain up towards Girard as well. But again, nothing severe right now. And I think we're going to probably stay that way because I think our one chance was that storm that went through St. Joe County. Battle Creek as well, seeing some very torrential rain. Really quickly, let's see how fast I can do this. I'm going to try and pull up a live camera in Battle Creek. Stand by. Skylie's seeing the behind-the-scenes version of this where I frantically try and make some things happen. All right. So we're going to go over here. I'm going to click this. Watch this. Oh, I could have done this. That was silly. Okay, that's Battle Creek downtown. Can't make it out now that we're starting to lose the daylight, but there should be. I think there's some really heavy rain just on the south side of Battle Creek. I think it's there. It's off in the distance. Oh, it's about to move in. So we'll probably lose some of this visibility. In fact, you can almost see in the street lights off in the distance there. It almost looks like some heavy rain. Just hard to make out from this vantage point. But that's Battle Creek. Here's Kalamazoo. Kalamazoo's still seeing some rain, but not as heavy as we were about an hour ago, maybe 30 minutes ago even. So, yeah. All right. I'm going to flip this back to radar. I forgot I had that ability. That would have saved me some time. All right. Yeah, Calhoun County is definitely seeing the action right now. Nothing severe. I don't want anyone to be overly concerned, but just stay inside. We got some heavy rain, some lightning working its way through. That and the cell in Branch County. Let me just make sure that little guy south of Coldwater. This is our most favorable area of still some remaining shear and rising motion in the atmosphere. I don't see anything overly worrisome there. This is like I was saying to Skylie over here, we call this babysitting the radar. That's kind of what we're doing. What you guys are basically seeing us do live is this is one of those days where we just have to kind of keep an eye on the radar in case something fluky happens. But right now I'm not seeing anything overly concerning. So nothing new to report there other than a lot of heavy rain, lightning. And I'm becoming less and less convinced we're going to see any additional severe storms. So that's a great sign. Really quickly, what I will do, if I can, let's see, as long as I don't crash our computer, which can happen. So we'll see. I'm going to just check the consumer's outage map. I can pull that up. Hey, I forgot. That might be, oh no, it's not. Okay, good. Nothing really that I'm seeing here jumping off, so that's good. Although part of the Sturgis area, this hatching right there, that's because they're in Indiana, Michigan power. But yeah, I don't see anything, at least from a consumer standpoint, no outages being reported in Sturgis area. Trying to see if there's anything else, maybe from lightning or something like that. Nothing really in our area, so that's a really good sign. There was one severe thunderstorm warning issued earlier today for out towards the east side of the state, over a little closer to Detroit. I saw one photo of a pretty healthy little wall cloud, so kind of a telltale sign of a strong to severe storm, but nothing overly concerning here, other than the fact that we did get that one severe thunderstorm wind gust in Sturgis of 61 miles an hour at the airport. So I'd be curious if you have any reports of any damage. If you're down in Sturgis and you see anything, feel free to let me know. Again, that was closer to the airport. And you can even kind of see it there. That's kind of a good vantage point. So some of those, let's see, some of those brighter colors that highlight the map right there, kind of between Three Rivers and Sturgis. And then some of those brighter colors started to fade away. The brighter the color, meaning I cannot drag this for the life of me, meaning the faster the wind speed. So you can kind of see it kind of pulsed up there a little bit. That was even within the last 10 minutes or so between Colon and Coldwater, that little dot of like lime green that you see there. That might have been some decent wind too, but probably not severe. And now it's kind of piddling out a little bit. So all in all, I'm feeling pretty good. I think we'll probably wrap this stream up so Skyly can maybe start leaving and heading home. Skyly's like, I'm trapped on this Facebook Live forever. Yeah. I can't leave. No, but yeah, I'm thinking this is probably pretty much wrapped up as far as a severe weather threat. I'm not seeing the potential really there too much longer. So if that changes, obviously we will let you know. But right now, I think we'll wrap this up. A lot of heavy rain, a lot of thunder, lightning for the next hour or so for, I would say, areas east and southeast of Kalamazoo. I'm not concerned right now. We had a very limited risk of severe weather today, as we saw in with that 60-mile-an-hour gust in Sturgis. Really spotty, but nonetheless, there was at least one pretty strong storm today. Tonight, heavy rain takes over, and then we could see a little bit of a break tomorrow. You know, why don't we just do this really quick? I'm notorious for this. I'll say, all right, that'll do it. And then I talk for 15 more minutes. I know that's shocking, Skyly, now that you've known me for like 3 hours. All right. This is tonight. The rain lifts out of here. And then here comes the rain and storms lift out of here. And then that's the heavy rain overnight after midnight. It's going to be a good night to sleep. I'll tell you that much. Is just the pitter patter on the roof going all night long. There's that little possible like break in some of the heavier rain before more showers kind of continue to spin in the afternoon. So that's 10. Well, that's 10 in the morning still. Now we're at noon. And then throughout the afternoon, we'll still see some just steady light rain, really windy, really chilly, low 50s. And then that rain finally clears out of here after about 8 p.m. tomorrow. Again, a very widespread soaking. We could see some localized flooding as well. We've already had some reports of that from the one and only Keith Thompson, who came in earlier, that was saying some of the usual suspects, the usual trouble spots in and around our station, Howard Hill, Crosstown Parkway. I always think of that. I always think of down towards White's Road sometimes, coming out of Westnedge Hill as well. Another trouble spot sometimes that sees some road ponding and flooding. So, you know, just take it easy, especially late tonight, or if you're driving late tonight, especially some windy or hilly roads. Just kind of be looking out ahead of yourself so you don't hit a big puddle and end up hydroplaning or something like that. But yeah, 2 to 3 inches. We're getting like almost a month's worth of rain in some scenario in the next 24 hours. So it's a far cry from the very dry conditions that we've seen really lately. So while I know it's not great timing because it's the weekend, it is beneficial for sure. All right. That's it. Skyly, final thoughts?
I love it. I love everything about this.
Cool. I sold her. Don't do it, Skyly. Don't do it. I'm just kidding. Okay. Skyly, scoot back in so you can say bye to Mom, Dad, Grandma, and Grandpa. watching. I don't know if they're watching. All right. Bye, everybody. And thank you, Skyly. I'm glad you could come hang and see some of the weather in action, even though you couldn't see a newscast, which is kind of lame. But
it's okay.
All right. We'll be back, though, 10 and 11 tonight, tracking the heavy rain as it moves in. All right. Bye, everybody.